talking to book people about books and other stuff.
Welcome to episode 4 of Talking to Book People about books and other stuff. And I am about to give a call to an author that I was lucky enough to meet last year when she dropped by the shop in advance of her debut novel coming out. Her name is Whitney Scharer. The book is The Age of Light. It's a depiction of the life of Lee Miller in entirely fictional form. So Whitney's over somewhere in the US. We'll give her a call and see what she's got to say and see what she's been up to while she's been unable to go anywhere. I'll give her a call now. Brilliant. Here you are. Thank you for agreeing to have a chat with me.
It's so fun to be here.
Where are you? Where are you seeing this out? You're in the US, right?
Yeah. I'm in Arlington. It's a little town just north of Boston.
Okay.
So I have a house. I have a yard.
Okay.
Which is
good.
really nice. I know. So that was a good choice on our part to move to a place with a yard.
Yeah.
We have 2 dogs who you'll probably hear barking throughout this because it's trash day and they go crazy on trash day. So
excellent. Well, that would not be the first dog to make an appearance on.
Yeah.
And how has it been over there? I mean, in your state, is it complete lockdown? Are you allowed to go out and take a walk? Are you allowed to exercise a little? How is it? How are they playing that?
So yeah, I mean, Massachusetts is like the 3rd worst state as far as cases and everything. So they're being pretty serious about it. I mean, people are going out, they're exercising, but more and more people are, like everybody's wearing masks now, even the joggers, which
really?
Most of them. Which it's like, I mean, I'm glad they're wearing them, but I'm also like, who wants to exercise in a mask?
Yeah, that's got to get.
It's gonna get a little sweaty.
Yeah, the book is obviously it's just over my shoulder there, and it's just into paperback in the UK. The novel is about Lee Miller, and it's about her relationship with Man Ray. But I mean, can you tell us a little bit more? Let's just for one small segment of this chat, let's pretend we're in the bookshop and we're going to have a big chat. Tell us about it and how it came about.
So it's a novel about Lee Miller and primarily about her relationship with Man Ray, but also it spans sort of her whole artistic career. But she was somebody I had never heard of, actually. I had studied photography all through high school and college and done a bunch of darkroom work and things like that. So I love photography and I love Man Ray. I love his work and kind of thought I knew a lot about him. And there was an exhibit at a museum north of where I live. This is back in 2011. And it was called Man Ray and Lee Miller, Partners in Surrealism.
Okay.
And I went to it for Man Ray, and I got there and like I vividly remember, like I walked in and I just started looking at her work, and immediately I was like, who is this woman? She's so talented. Her work is incredible. Her career spans she had 3 different total reinventions throughout her photographic career.
Right.
And I'd never heard of her in any of my art history classes, and so I kind of came to the novel through that like aggravation at having her not be as famous of a name as her male counterpart.
Okay. And so then, and you started, so you just began researching her. Did you immediately know from that point, I'm going to write about her, or did? Yeah,
I mean, I knew. I walked around, and the exhibit kind of did a great job of exploring her work and also her life, which was fascinating. And I knew, I was like, this would make an amazing novel. Like, why has nobody written a novel about this? And I mean, to say that I was like immediately like, oh, I'm going to write a novel about this would be a lie, because I bought a biography of her, at the gift shop or whatever, started reading about her. But it took me 2 years actually of reading and researching to get to the point where I felt like I could do it. I was honestly sort of scared at the prospect of writing about her, because I was so compelled by her, I think, and wanted to do her justice and didn't know if I could.
It feels like it is a slightly different version of the art of writing, that ability to bring to life a character who also has that reality. There must be an extra degree of nervousness about it, because I mean, always readers are going to say, oh, you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right, sometimes very unfairly, but this even more so, right, if it's a real character.
I mean, it's funny because you sort of have 2 things going on. You have the I think sort of advantage of having this built-in plot that you are pushing at, right? You have this this framework of the facts of a person's life, and so it's like, ooh, done and dusted, like there's my plot.
Exactly.
I mean, which is like kind of nice, but of course, like much more to the point, it's like, yes, you have to do justice to a person that really lived, who people have very strong opinions about, and really, I mean, no matter how you write your book, people are going to be angry at something that you do. But I mean, I think that's what's really interesting about biofiction, is that, you're taking the facts from the past and you're kind of overlaying a modern perspective on top of that, in a modern writer's brain. And, I think fiction is so tangled up with who a writer is, as well as what they're writing about, that my version of Lee Miller is never going to be anybody else's version. And I actually think that's really exciting.
Yeah. And do you, I mean, when you look back on it, because you must have spent the best part of a year, or big chunks of your year, talking about the book and talking about Lee Miller. How do you feel about Lee Miller now? Has your version of Lee Miller merged with the Lee Miller that you kind of first saw or experienced when you walked into that gallery, or I don't know how?
Oh gosh, that's such a good question. I mean, first off, I kept thinking, like, sooner or later I'm going to get sick of talking about Lee Miller, but that hasn't happened.
Okay, that's fine. Good. Well, that's good.
Yeah, I'm still happy to talk about Lee Miller, which is really good.
Excellent.
But I guess I just have gotten I've gotten more comfortable with my own portrayal of her. If that makes sense, and it's been really interesting to meet people who are like Lee Miller scholars, and or just lifelong, like, just have lifelong obsessions with her, and learn something that I hadn't learned before, and then be able to kind of place that into the structure that I've already made, and that's actually been really, really fun.
Have you sort of, because I mean, I would imagine that one side of that is that you keep having these little vignettes that you think, oh, I could have put that in the book if I'd known that great story about Lee Miller. That would have made a great scene.
I have a couple of those, but I had a couple of those that I wrote that I didn't include, that I still am like, oh, I miss that scene. I know it doesn't belong in there, but like I wish it could.
Are you writing at the moment? Is that what you've been doing? Were you writing, and if so, how has this lockdown changed the writing process, and what are you working on, if it's not too early to tell us?
I started something new in January, so it's very new still. I'm a slow writer. Like, I'm not able to crank things out, but I have been writing. The first couple weeks I was not writing. I would like sort of look at my computer or look at my notebook and just be like, oh God, just because I think, like, I just feel like everybody's attention span is really, is just broken,
There's so much going on. There's so many options. Yeah,
it's like there's no options, but so many options, and like you just can't like keep your brain on something.
No.
Or at least I was having a lot of trouble. So I wasn't writing, and then like a few weeks ago, though, a friend of mine who's also a writer, she was like, how about we have like set writing dates, and we do you know this thing called Pomodoro method? Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I've heard of this, but tell me what it is. So,
it's so simple. It's basically like you work for 25 minutes and then you take a 5-minute break, and then you work for 25 minutes and 5-minute break. And it's called the Pomodoro method, I think, because it's supposed to be modeled after one of those little tomato timers that you have in your kitchen.
Okay.
Anyway, so she was like, let's meet and text each other and start a 25-minute writing session, and both write for 25 minutes and then like check in at the 5-minute break. And we've been doing it almost every day since we started doing it.
Wow.
And we're both like, I wrote something, like I got something done. And I really look forward to it, because I know that she's working and I'm working, and somehow knowing that somebody else is concentrating makes me able to concentrate.
Yeah, so it's a solidarity. And I suppose there's a tiny little bit of pressure that if you're going to have to check in and say, no, I've literally just been watching Trump's last
absolutely
conference.
Oh yeah. Like
I've written nothing.
Yeah, because if she's like, oh wow, I wrote 500 words, and I'm like, oh, I like painted my toenails or something. I would feel.
Okay, but that's good. It's good that I think you're right about everyone's bandwidth is completely preoccupied.
I'm still having a lot of trouble focusing on reading, actually, though.
Are you right? Yeah. So I wanted to ask about reading. Are you not reading at the moment, or are you not sure what to read?
I am reading, but I'm not. But I guess I have to. It's like once I start reading, it's okay. But I keep like looking at books and just sort of not wanting to pick them up and then picking up my phone and just reading the news, which is so dumb.
Yeah.
But I've been I have been reading. I've been reading a little bit for this new project I'm working on, and then I've also been reading things that feel very escapist. Like I've read, I don't know, I assume it was published in the UK too, this book, Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson.
Yes, that has been published here. Yeah. I haven't read it. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's really fun and funny. It's about these two kids who spontaneously catch on fire.
Right.
And it's so weird and quirky, and his writing is just really, I don't know, it's just fun. So I read that, really enjoyed it. I've been reading things that I feel like a little bit lighter in that way, I guess.
How do you think Lee Miller would have dealt with lockdown?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, it depends on what period of her life, because I feel like at the end of her life, she sort of was effectively in a lockdown of her own making in a way. And, so at that point in her life at Farley Farm, I think she would have been cooking all sorts of completely crazy dishes and probably be pretty bitter that people couldn't come over to eat them, but would have been okay. And I picture the young Lee Miller as just probably not paying a lot of attention, actually. I think she would have, but then again, like any 20-year-old, I think I just think it's gotta be so hard when you're young and you want to be out doing stuff with your friends and you're stuck here,
Yeah, no, I think that's right. So listen, if you imagine the moment where lockdown suddenly ends, which it shouldn't. I mean, it might do in your country, but
I know.
It should be a gradual process, I think, in some ways, and I think it'll be a weird process. But if it suddenly ended, what would be the first place you would go? Like the first business you would go to that you're missing, or the first trip you'd take?
Oh my God. Okay. Well, the first business I would go to, and I mean, I know I'm talking to a bookstore owner, so you're going to be like, would you really do this? But there's a bookstore near my house. It's like a mile and a half away, called Belmont Books. And I think I would go there because I hadn't realized how much I would miss going to the bookstore. Where I am, I mean, it's close enough to my house that literally every time I go there, I run into somebody I know.
Right.
So it's like that feeling of, it's not just the books, but it's like the people and the cup of coffee and all that. So I would love to do that. That'd be great. And then the first place I would travel, oh God. Well, the first place I would realistically travel is probably, I think I really want to go to New Mexico, to the desert because of this project that I won't tell you about that I'm working on. But I love the desert and so part of the book is going to be set there. So I would love to go there and do some research and actually meet up with two of my friends who still live in Denver and have them drive down to New Mexico and meet me. Oh
yeah, that would be great. We got to go to New Mexico year before last in January because the American Booksellers Winter Institute, this great conference, was in Albuquerque. So
I was there.
Yeah, you were there. Okay, so maybe I was there. Yeah, everyone's there. Did you have to do that thing? Which I think any sort of reader who's not in the book trade would sort of struggle to comprehend it. But they have this thing, and I don't know whether you did it, where they have 120 authors at desks. You did that? It's the toughest gig so basically you've got 120 authors at little tables around a huge ballroom sized thing, and then they just let in 750 booksellers and it's competitive signing. It's a competitive signing, but the books are free. So I think it's the most brutal thing in the whole book trade.
I have to tell you something so funny, actually. So I was seated next to Harlan Coben, who is such a veteran. He's done 5,000 of these or whatever. He's such a cool guy. I loved him. But I'm sitting there and I'm getting ready and they've got the doors barred and it's and they literally say they're 3 minutes to go, 1 minute to go, they tell you.
And they've got banks of canapes ready and waiters and it's it's so intense.
And wine, it's so intense. And so I'm sitting there and I've got my, and I uncap my pen to get ready to sign and the pen just explodes down my hand, ink running all down my hand, and because it had been on the airplane with me, I guess, and it exploded or whatever. And Harlan Coben's just rookie mistake.
Really?
It was so funny.
I mean, I don't know what it's like in terms of your community as well, because again, if you're not really allowed out into it, but we have this sort of thing where I just looked out of my kitchen window this morning and it's the people opposite. There is some box outside which says free, please take. I don't even know what's in the box because I haven't been today. But that kind of stuff seems to be, there is that sort of rallying around and that awareness of thinking how everyone else is dealing with this, and what other people are going through.
Yeah. Our town is doing, my town is like a small suburb kind of, and they're doing some sort of cool stuff. People are putting teddy bears in the windows so that kids, when they go for walks, they can count all the teddy bears, a little, not a scavenger hunt, but little hunt like that. And then there's this thing that's actually quite nice. It's just it's called 6 feet at 6 p.m., which is a little bit sad because it sort of reminds you that you can't get closer than 6 feet to somebody else. But it's just, everybody's supposed to go out on their porches at 6 and just say hello to each other. And my daughter went out and played her violin, and it's kind of nice.
That's lovely. So do people just chat a little, or do they just raise a glass from porch?
Yeah, basically they just raise a glass, Yeah.
Which is also good, because by 6 p.m. we all need to have a glass.
Absolutely. For me, it's the 5 o'clock beer is been really important.
I'm quite ritualistic. I tell you a related story from here, that at Thursdays at 8 p.m. here in the UK, they're doing a thing where the whole country is encouraged to go outside and clap for our national health workers. Right? So the whole country, cool. So each community around is doing, and without fail we have forgotten the timing of it. We've rushed out, we've rushed from the kitchen or whatever, or the kids have been getting ready for bed, and it's been complete panic, but we've made it out there. But last night we have one senior person from the bookstore is going to the bookstore to make sure that deliveries are accepted. We're not working in there, but one person's in there and checking things each day. And it was me who'd done that yesterday. So I was driving back into the village as everyone was giving this rousing round of applause, which felt about the most awkward thing ever, because then it felt like I was being given this round of applause, whereas actually, I was doing, if anything, the exact opposite. I'd had to make a work trip and definitely not deserving applause. So that was a very strange moment for us. But So
about maybe 10 years ago, there's a big bike ride that takes place in Boston, the AIDS ride, and it's on a Saturday or whatever. So this one Saturday I was out and I was biking, I was biking from my house to work, and I'm biking along the river, and it was weirdly empty, and I didn't think that much of it. And then I kind of bike across this bridge, and all of a sudden there start to be people lining the edges of the bridge and the street. And I'm still sort of what's going on? And no other bikers anywhere, just me. And I keep biking. All of a sudden people are clapping, and they're "Welcome to Boston! Congratulations! You did it!" And I was oh my God, I'm on the AIDS ride. Oh, no. But I'm
you're not.
So
you're
far ahead of all the other bikers that they think that I've won. They think that I'm the best. So, and I'm on my bike, and I'm no, I'm not on the AIDS ride. I didn't win. No. And I was trying to get off the path so that people would stop applauding for me. And I couldn't, because then it was starting to get more and more full of people, and it was all barricaded and everything, and I could. It was, oh my God, it was so funny. Yeah.
Listen, thanks for taking the call and taking the time to have a chat. It's
so nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
And it's nice to think about your bookstore. I really loved it when I came last year and got to see it.
Oh, thank you. Well, listen, right. I'll let you get on. I only have an hour and a half till my my beer hour, but you've got a lot more of a day to get through.
I've got a whole day to get through. Yeah.
All right. So
wish me luck.
I will. Yeah. Good luck, and good luck with the Pomodoro. And we'll speak again soon. All right.
Okay. Thanks. Bye, Nick.
Bye.
Please note, no book people were harmed in the making of this film, though some were technologically challenged. All books are available from www.mrbeesemporium.com.
Keep safe and keep reading.